I'm going to do another book review. Welcome back to Life in My Shoes Reviews and Such. As the intro indicated, I am doing a review of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is a Hunger Games novel. So in this instance, it's a prequel. So let me get you a little bit of information about it before we jump in. As you can see, I have the Kindle version. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. I want to say as of yesterday, it was $17.99 for a Kindle and $16.79 for a hardcover. I got the Kindle because I have my previous Hunger Games novels as Kindles as well. In a physical form, it is 528 pages. It was released on the 19th of May, so just shy of 10 days ago, and it is a prequel, as I mentioned. So let me give you a quick synopsis without too many spoilers. So this takes place at the 10th Hunger Games. So at this point in time, the Hunger Games the war has only been over for 10 years. The Hunger Games really doesn't have the kind of look, feel, elevated position in society that we see in the 74th and 75th Hunger Games of Katniss Everdeen. So it is really just an event that happens, and so what the Capitol is trying to do is figure out a way to make this a more prominent event, to be more meaningful within the Capitol and throughout the districts. So what they do is they enlist the Capitol Academy, which is one of the schools within the Capitol, enlist some of their up-and-coming students, usually they're like graduating students, to be mentors, because the concept of mentors didn't really exist. So they assign each of these students from the academy to be a mentor to a district tribute. In this instance, Coriolanus Snow, President Snow that we know from the Hunger Games trilogy, is one of these students. He is assigned, ironically, or maybe not ironically, a District 12 tribute, but specifically the District 12 female. And so the whole story takes place primarily from Coriolanus Snow's perspective in trying to win the Hunger Games with his tribute, because along with winning the Hunger Games comes some things in life, for example, an education, a further education that is desperately needed by the eventual President Snow, and is needed by his family. So the story, again, is from his perspective. It's oddly, you know who President Snow is. This is like watching the prequels of Star Wars, knowing that Anakin is Darth Vader. So you know who President Snow is, but there's still a piece of you that hopes and just hopes that things aren't going to turn out the way they turn out. So I won't go into a ton of detail, but basically, he is trying to find a way for his victor to win. And along the way, we are seeing his personality, almost his moral compass, ebb and flow as the story progresses. And in the end, I will tell you, this is, if anything is any of a spoiler, in the end, the results of the 10th Hunger Games are basically expunged from history. And what the novel tells us is there is a copy of the Hunger Games that was televised in a vault somewhere, but is basically not publicized, is never spoken about again, and is basically kind of forgotten. But what is happening along the way is things are happening in this story that are laying the groundwork for the future. Not only is the whole story about President Snow and his development, but some of the students' interactions in the Hunger Games themselves influences what the Hunger Games looks like in the future. So they make suggestions to changes, to things to happen. There are allusions to changes that need to happen that we see in the Hunger Games of Katniss Everdeen's era. As we saw in the original Hunger Games trilogy, it was a big televised event. It was forced on the districts. The tributes are treated like kings and queens for the period of time that they're in the Capitol prepping to get into the arena. So some of this stuff didn't exist. So again, we're talking basically 64, 65 years prior to Katniss Everdeen's Hunger Games. Things are not as well tuned. So overall, in my opinion, I've read a lot of the reviews online about this. They kind of poo-poo on it, and I will join in a little bit in the poo-poo in saying that of all the things that could have been the next novels in a Hunger Games series, this definitely isn't a story that I feel needs to be told. It just, some of the other tributes that we've seen along the way, Haymitch, Finnick, Joanna, any of the kind of nuts and bolts, any of the other tributes we've seen along the way, I would rather have read a novel about them than to have read a novel about Coriolanus Snow. Again, I've said this before about other things, but any Hunger Games is better than no Hunger Games. But it is definitely not like what I would be desiring. I would love to see Haymitch's, which was the 50th Hunger Games. I would love to see that because they doubled the number of tributes. I would love to see whatever they did special in the 25th. When this book was first announced, I thought they were saying that it was the 11th Hunger Games, which was Mag's year to win, and I was excited about that, only to kind of see, oh, wait a minute, it's the 10th. We don't even know anything about that. So again, it's the same world, but again, it's very primitive compared to what we saw in the Hunger Games of the 74th and 75th era. So all in all, I'd recommend it. If you're a Hunger Games fan, read it, enjoy it, go into it with open eyes, go into it with normalized expectations. Don't expect what you got in the first three novels, because it's not that. But it is an enjoyable read. I got through it pretty quickly, probably 4 or 5 days. I've been a couple days since I read it before doing this review. But I would recommend it. I enjoyed it. Again, I look forward to a movie being made of it. I will enjoy that, and I will consume that. And I hope that we get more novels. Now, I'm not super jazzed about more novels about Coriolanus Snow, but I will read them if she produces them. So overall, it's a thumbs up. If you have read it, let me know what your thoughts are. Leave some comments below. Give me a thumbs up and a like, and we'll talk about another. I think my next video is going to be a shoe review, so be on the lookout for that, and that hopefully will post up pretty soon. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.